Rebuilding Your Life, Moving from Disaster to Prosperity with Susan Sherayko, where we help you transform your life by changing what you're telling yourself. Whatever your circumstances, you can experience health, financial security, and a sense of well-being once again. And now, here's your host, Susan Sherayko.
On behalf of Rebuilding Your Life Radio and the Train Your Brain, Claim Your Power calls, this is Susan Sherayko. Welcome. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Alexander Joyeuse, who is the author of Diabetic Denial, The Long Journey Home. He has written his book in the hope that it will change lives by raising awareness about diabetes. Not enough people know the damage that diabetes can do to a person. So let's find out about it from Alexander. Please wave your hands to welcome Alexander Joyeuse. Hello, Alexander. Welcome.
Hello, Susan. Well, thank you.
Yeah. So where do you come from, Alexander?
Well, originally I am from St. Lucia, a little tiny island in the Caribbean, and I migrated to here some time ago via my parents in Daly City, California, and I currently reside in Vallejo, California, which is about 50 miles north of San Francisco.
Ah, okay. And did you go to have a kind of normal mid-American life?
Yeah, it was a normal mid-American life, middle-class family. We grew up in a middle-class neighborhood, enjoyed all the benefits that life can award you as a middle-class person here in America. Went to Catholic school, private school all my life. From there, I kind of went to the public school system, which was a shock because a lot of that I learned in the rudimentary elementary system. I started learning in they were teaching that in high school, so that was somewhat a breeze. From there, I graduated, I took the long road. I started out at community college CSM in San Mateo, California. From there, I transferred to San Francisco State. I then left college and joined the military, spent 8 years in the U.S. Army. And upon leaving the Army, I went to work for AT&T, and 33 years later, here I am still working for
here you are.
AT&T. Yeah.
Were you involved in sports?
I was. I played football, basketball, baseball as a youth. I was in track. I was involved with all the sports. Back then, youth were outside. We rode our bikes. We played. We engaged. So a little different from the youth is today. But I enjoyed a really good life.
Yeah, and I imagine that along with that came enjoying our great American diet with supersized meals and pizza.
Of course. And just not one, multiple pizzas and supersized meals. Yeah, I enjoyed that because at the time I was very active. So
you could do that at that point. Well, Alexander, this story is about your personal journey with diabetes. So after living all this wonderful life, what happened?
Well, after living a wonderful life, you kind of grow up from that life. I had responsibilities, and one was a family. I got married late in life, at age 32. I got married, had 2 children, and had to go to work. And my work took me various places, many long hours, so my eating habits were not typical. They were sporadic. Maybe I would eat a meal at 6 p.m. or I wouldn't get a meal until 11 p.m. So I had sporadic eating habits, and I didn't stop supersizing and having pizza as time went on. And all those things caught up with me, and eventually I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So what did you do once you got the diagnosis? Well, once I got the diagnosis, it was a shock, and as any typical person, I sat back and I started to think, well, I wasn't born with diabetes. It looks like something that just came on. I went to Sears at the time, bought me a stationary bike and got on it and rode it like there was no tomorrow. Started exercise right away, rode it like there's tomorrow. Went back to the doctor, and they said everything was fine. So I resumed my life as, as a normal American person eating burgers and apple pie.
Mm. But then did you begin to see some symptoms coming up?
I actually didn't see any symptoms or wasn't really paying attention to it. But one of the things I know is after learning more about it is that you begin to urinate frequently. And I did notice that I was urinating a little frequently. And so I went back to the doctor, went back to my personal physician, and he made the confirmation that I did have type 2 diabetes and that, just exercising alone wouldn't help. And so we started a regimen. He put me on insulin, and that kind of helped out for a while. But
for a while,
of course,
but
I went
something
back.
major happened, right?
Yes, I went back to my old habits, and eventually I started having pain underneath my left foot. As a man, and this might be a man thing, I disregarded pain and kept on as usual. And it got to a point where September 30th of 2015, it was unbearable. I couldn't put my foot down to walk, and so the next morning I went to the doctors, and so be it. I lost a portion of that foot.
My goodness. I mean, was that a simple operation, or had you let it go so long that it was more serious?
Well, had it gone so long, I probably wouldn't be talking to you right now. According to the doctors, had I not got in that morning, I would have been dead by the next day because it looked like I was septic. My blood was septic, and the gas gangrene had already was seeping through most of my organs. So I was pretty lucky, can't say.
Wow.
I would say that I was blessed that day.
So it sounds like you were, but how long did it then take you to recover?
It took me after the procedure, which was about 3 or 4 hours. It wasn't a long procedure. My recovery time from leaving the hospital home was about a year. And the reason why it took so long is you can't skin graft the bottom of the foot there. That whole thing had to grow by itself, which is pretty extraordinary. The body itself, the human body is very extraordinary. I learned a lot from that. But it took about a year and a half for it to heal, and another 3 or 4 months for me to learn how to walk and function again without all of my faculties.
Wow. Now, I guess I picture this, what is it like to try to step down on only a partial foot?
At first, it was challenging. You have to get used to it, but after a while, the body makes up for what it has lost or gained. I guess repetition is the best thing I can say. Over time, just repeating the process and getting the best of care. Being in a rehabilitation center, just everyone there giving you the support that you need. Eventually, it's like you didn't lose a limb, or you didn't lose any of your faculties. You're able just to walk without being conscious of it. I would say though it's more mental than it is physical.
I can get that. Yeah. Because if your mind is not on the ride, you just don't do it. You just
Correct.
sit there and feel sorry for yourself. Yeah. So.
Yeah, you sink into this low point, and you don't have the will. So thankfully, my mind was not there. I believe in the Creator. I am a very spiritual person, so. I didn't take this as something negative. I understand it happened, and a lot was due to my fault and me being in denial of my prognosis. So I just continued to push forward, move on, forged on. As an ex-military person, that's what we're taught to do anyway. So I think all of that actually helped me in my rehabilitation and getting back on my feet.
Mm-hmm. When did you decide you wanted to tell this story?
6 months after the operation, I decided, I sat down with my family and said, if I can help one person, just one person, if I can help them change their habits, help them understand that when the prognosis is given, that you jump on it and you do exactly as the physician would tell you to do, then I would have done my job as a human being, from human being to human being, just changing one life. And so I decided to, made a difference. And I decided to put paper to pen and talk about the things that I'd gone through and the experiences and how it changed my life, but actually made me a better person, and how my eating habits changed, and was able to go from an A1C of 10 to 5.2, which is normal, and then having to maintain that. And every now and then, yes, we live life, so we cheat, and we should. We're human beings. We should be able to enjoy some of the pleasures that life has awards for us. So I would say it's a seesaw battle
all the
at
time.
times. Yeah, definitely.
Well, let's get into some of that stuff, those things that you had to do. First of all, was this something you would have expected to happen, that diabetes ran in your family, or that there was something you had specifically done that would have brought it on?
I actually didn't expect that to happen. I never thought that I would have living my life with, partial foot or an amputation. Never thought about that. Didn't expect it to happen. It did, and that's when I really went in and figured out why it did. And that's when I found out that diabetes is hereditary, and it does run in the family. But it's interesting; it doesn't hit every member of the family. It can skip a generation, or it can, if there's 5 children, one child has it and the rest doesn't, and then it'll skip 2 generations, and maybe your grandniece will have it. So it's not something that it's very sporadic in the way it does affect individuals, but it more has to do with your eating habits, I would say.
Did you have a history of any medical conditions that are commonly found with people who get diabetes, like, I guess, high blood pressure or arthritis or cancer, anything like that? No. Prior to that, I was a healthy 32-year-old human being, that was living life as a middle-class individual family, American, and doing the things that law-abiding citizens would be doing, going to work, coming home, marrying my family, keeping my faith, and trusting in the system. So, and caught you off guard. Yeah. Well, you mentioned that this was type 2 diabetes. Is that preventable?
Type 2 diabetes is preventable. And you can come back from it. Type 1 is something that you're born with, so that's something that's not preventable. Type 1 you live with all your life. But type 2 diabetes, if you really put in the time and work, you can reverse it. Which is what you basically do. You manage your diabetes. Yes, I manage my diabetes through exercise, 30 minutes of exercise, and it doesn't have to be vigorous exercise, brisk walking, riding your bike, a little jogging, nothing too strenuous to the body because you don't want to hurt other areas of your body. Changing your diet, getting away from the high carbs, the fast carbs, putting more fiber in your diet, and just having more of a peace of mind, staying within yourself, not getting out of yourself, keeping your blood pressure and everything intact, and living as wholesome a life as you can live, and having good people around you as well, because that makes a difference. Having family and friends around you, surrounding yourself with good people. As I say, be careful of the company that you keep. So therefore, that you don't entice any of those bad habits. If your friends are eating burgers all the time, then you're going to eat burgers. But right. People are more conscious of who you are and your disease. Yeah. Did you have a weight problem before, or do you manage your diet more for the diabetes than for weight loss? Manage it more for diabetes than weight loss. I did not have a weight problem before. I was never a big person. I think I got up to size proportionally, 5'11". I think the most I weighed was 240, but that was more muscle than anything else because I played football, basketball, so baseball. I stayed in shape, and currently my normal weight, and based on my body structure, is about 220 anyway. But it was not, an obese 220. It was more proportional 220. So no, weight wasn't an issue. It was just the fact that I would eat supersized McDonald's at 11 o'clock at night. So my body, and then in the morning I'm eating a big breakfast. So the body had never had enough time to digest the foods. It was constantly inundated with these foods.
So what did you eliminate from your diet in order to eat a healthy diabetic lifestyle?
Well, I definitely eliminated the supersized McDonald's. So all fast foods were, it's been 7 years now, no fast foods.
Wow.
I've more vegetables, more greens, more green vegetables per se, less meat. I've taken red meat out of my diet. I've taken the pork out of my diet. And it's more protein based through fish. And I don't eat all fish, particularly mostly the fish I eat is salmon, and it has to be a wild Alaskan salmon. So no farm-raised subsidies at all.
Well, okay. Do you eat chicken?
I eat chicken, but not a lot of it. Just maybe once a week we'll have some chicken, but most of my diet is mostly salmon.
Okay. And how about and pasta, rice, grains? How about all that?
Yeah, greens, rice I can have, but it's measured. Pasta, not supposed to have that, but again, you have to live life. So every now and then I make dinner for my youngest daughter. She loves she loves spaghetti. So when I make the spaghetti, I will make it with all natural. I make it from scratch, other than the pasta, but I make it with all natural vegetables. I take it before I put the sauce in. So I would take my portion out and then put the sauce in for her. But I inundate it with a lot of garlic, a lot of ginger, and turmeric.
Mm-hmm. Was it difficult to adjust to this diet?
No, actually it was not difficult. When you know that you're forced to do something, you'd be surprised how fast you can change.
That is, there's something about that impetus to live that makes you think twice before you take the bad stuff. Right.
Yes,
do you have to?
Most definitely.
Do you have to monitor your sugar levels every day?
I do have to monitor my sugar levels just to make sure, and so I do have a monitoring device. I don't do 3 times a day. Pricking yourself on the fingers 3 times a day is a little painful, I would say, and then sometimes it will leave calluses. So every now and then I do take and make sure my levels are within the required areas, and you can basically feel your body changing if and when you have more sugars than you're supposed to have in your body. As a type 2 diabetic, you can instantly feel that change. So I have a good guide, and really I stay strict on my diet. And staying strict on my diet helps me maintain my A1C under the 7, which most physicians like it to be.
How can you tell when the sugar levels have changed? Is it something, what do we talk? We could mental, physical, emotional. I mean, what do you experience it as?
It's I would say it's all 3, but first it will be physical. You can feel the rise. You can feel the chemical change in your body. If your sugars are too high, you become more sluggish. You feel kind of tired of sleepy, and then there's also the emotional product. Is high sugars creates a chemical imbalance, which you seem more angry, more agitated than you would normally be. So those things are kind of signs that your sugars may be a little high. If your sugars are too low, because I've experienced both of that. I haven't been on insulin. Sometimes I can take too much insulin and my sugars go low. Well, low sugar, you tend to start to sweat, and you feel the dizziness and things coming on. So you really have to pay attention to your body and what it's doing at the time, and really stick with your diet. I would tell anyone, everyone out there listening, is you want to stick with your diet. Get off the fatty foods, get off the high carbs, the fast carbs. There are carbs that are good for you, and there are carbs that have great spikes. Rice, pastas, all of those things, they have great, high spikes, high sugar. So as soon as you digest it, you can feel the change in your body. You can feel that there's the sugars it goes right into your blood system right away. So and a lot of like juices, orange juice, all your particular juices that are not naturally made. So as a diabetic, you want to be more natural. I always say you want to live or eat, the Bible the diet, which is, the fruit I give you is meat. So stick with the fruit, stick with the vegetables, stick with the greens, and every now and then you can have a nice little, if you just can't get away from meat, you can have a very small portion of your steak, but everything is well proportioned so that you have more greens than you would have meat or carbs.
And do you wear a bracelet to notify people so that in case you should go into insulin shock, someone would know what was going on?
That's a great question. No, I do not wear a bracelet, and I should really think about having that. Now, I do have my phone, which has an emergency and has all my information on there. But if the phone locks up, I don't know if they can. I believe they can get to the emergency part of it, but you're right. That's something that I should really look at. I never thought about wearing a bracelet or having an identification. I know in the military you always have what they call the dog tags, and on there has your blood type and things like that. So it makes a lot of sense for us as diabetics to have something that alerts people that who we are, such in case we should fall out in the street or something like that, or the EMTs. Right. Definitely, they would have some knowledge of what may be going on.
Right. Now, you also mentioned exercise is tremendously important. What's your routine?
My routine basically is to get up. I have in my yard, I have a half-court basketball, so I shoot around a little bit. I get on my stationary bike, I ride, and then I just do some brisk walking, nothing too strenuous. You just want to keep the body moving, per se. They said a body in motion tends to, live happier. Now,
you also mentioned that you made some changes to your lifestyle in terms of how much you worked, and you had previously worked 16-hour days.
Yeah, I was previously working 16 to 24-hour days, and that didn't help with the bad eating habits. But since then, I've changed my work schedule. I've changed how I approach life. I guess I would say I've been awarded a second chance. So I don't work as much. It's 8 hours a day. I make sure I get 6 to 8 hours of rest. Every now and then I will meditate. So I do a lot of meditation as well. And I try to keep myself, I would say, as they say in yoga, nirvana, I guess. I keep myself in a state, in a state of absolute peace, so that I have an understanding of who I am, my body, my purpose, and try to live that, purpose in life throughout.
Now, were there any other things you had to adjust to?
Well, I did have to walking uphill and downhill. That was a big thing I had to adjust, because you never know how much you need a part of your body until you don't have it. And so your feet, they act like bevels. Your foot, they act like bevels. They move up and down, side to side. And not having that on one side or the other. I do have a bracelet I use, so I had to to making adjustments walking with a brace, but that brace doesn't bend as a normal human being's ankle would bend. So I had to adjust to that. So walking downhill and uphill, especially with packages or whatever you had, made your balance a little different. So I had to adjust to that. But again, it was more so mental, and just taking your time and doing so, and understanding things about having an understanding of you can't do too much too fast.
Take it easy. Easy does it. Easy.
Yeah. Easy does it, like they say. Easy does it in life. You take things easy. You walk through life not running, but taking your time so that you could have an understanding of all things, so your decisions are made correctly.
And what is the message that you want to get across through this book, Alexander?
Well, my message is that pay attention, number one, to your body, number two, to your physician, and number three, to your family. And if you just become more aware of the foods that you put in your body, I think it's really important that we become more aware of the foods that we put in our body. Yes, we have to enjoy life, and so, a burger, a pizza, that's part of, the American diet. But we need to be more cognizant of putting better foods in our body, more greens, more vegetables, those things that are provided naturally, and try to get away from the unnatural, the foods. Every now and then it's good to have a nice little ice cream. You go out, you enjoy it with your family, your children, your wife, your loved one, your partner, your significant other. But at times, make sure that you understand yourself and always love yourself first. So that if you love yourself and you're taking care of yourself, you'll be able to take care of others. And if we do that, then all of society would be better for it, will be better for it, and humanity will be better for it.
So where have you promoted this book?
I was not big on really, I just wanted to write it without fluff. And if one person picked it up, I wasn't looking to make $1 million on it or to become rich on it. I just wanted it to help individuals who may be going through what I experienced and didn't have the support that I have. I had great support. I had family, I had friends, the physicians, the doctors, the nurses. I had tremendous support. But some people may not have that support. So I wanted to write this book as a guide, per se, to give that person the support they may need. That, hey, this individual, Alexander was able to, make do with life. He didn't sit down. He got up. He stood up, and he surrounded himself, and the sun always shone for him. And so, if you can continue to push yourself, continue to believe in yourself, continue to love yourself, and surround yourself with people that love you and see you for who you are, and are willing to help and aid you in your time of distress and need, then I did my job with the book.
Where is it available?
It's available at Barnes & Nobles, Google, on any of the platforms. It is also available. I do have a website, Alexander Danny Joyeux, JOIEUX.com. You can get it there. It's available on all the digital platforms, bookstore.
And do you ever go out and do you ever go out to groups to talk about your experience and help them become more aware of your story that way?
I have not gone out to groups. I would like. I did join the diabetic group locally here, but it's only per se online. I would definitely love to go out and talk to people and talk about the experience, let them know what I did to recover, how I could help, how it could be of service, because I believe that if each and everyone gives back to each other, then we can definitely make this disease less, let's say, disheartening for people.
And they can adjust to it. Yes.
They can adjust to it, and they'll be able to live more of a normal life.
Right. Which is the goal for everybody. So,
correct.
Well,
yes.
Thank you so much for being on the program, Alexander. I want to thank our listeners as well. As a reminder, we've been speaking with Alexander Joye about his book, Diabetic Denial, The Long Journey Home, which is available online in numerous places and on his website, which is his name. And would you repeat that full website address again?
Yes, the full website is AlexanderDannyJoyeux, Joyeux.com.
And it's also at Barnes & Noble. So there's plenty of places to pick it up. And if you have recently gotten a diagnosis of diabetes, or you're trying to figure out how to manage it, or if you know somebody who's going through that, this is a good place to start and see how an example of someone who has dealt with it and is managing it well and is sharing his experience to help you. So please take a listen. So thank you again for sharing your book with us, Alexander.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for giving me the time and the platform to, reach, like you said, to reach those who may be having a hard time. And if this book can help them turn themselves around or seek better care and health, then thank you very much. God bless everyone. Let's all come together as the human family and help each other so that life can be better in our societies and communities can be better. I'd also say it's available on Amazon bookstore as well. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, amen to your wish for this book. We need more examples of people who are successfully dealing with things like this, so that they are an inspiration and a source of basic information that can make a big difference in their lives.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Well,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure to do it. So that's it for us today, folks. Bye for now, and have a great day.
Thank you very much for tuning in today. If you've been inspired by this show, leave a rating or review on iTunes and visit www.rainbowsoverrunes.com to receive a free chapter from Susan's book. On behalf of Susan Shireko, this has been Rebuilding Your Life, moving from disaster to prosperity, sharing the journeys of those affected by sudden and great loss and what they did to heal, rebuild, and where they are now.